everybody, it is the Lawn Gnome, and welcome back to your favorite segment over here on my channel, Out of the Vault. I know that there aren't that many videos coming out on my channel, but one of the few things that I do know about my faithful fans who are still here, when it comes to a new episode that refers to Disney Magic and Studio Ghibli and Pixar and anything else that is possibly connected to Disney in some way, I'm always excited to see you guys flock on back just to see what we're going to be discussing. So today we're going to be going into the realm of Studio Ghibli, especially because of the fact that we got the announcement of the release date for physical media of the latest Studio Ghibli film, and now the Academy Award winner for Best Animated Feature, The Boy and the Heron. I'm really excited to finally see this movie and talk about it later on this year, but I thought it would be appropriate to at least do something Studio Ghibli today, and we're going to talk about a movie in the collection that I did see only once and didn't have a great experience, and it's the 15th in the library, Tales from Earthsea. This movie has a very interesting history behind it because it came out in theaters over in Japan in 2006, and then there was a BBC broadcasting of it with an English dubbing, and it included some very well-known British and American actors, including the likes of Timothy Dalton as Sparrowhawk, who is the main protagonist, who is one of the most important characters in the film, the villain Cobb, who is voiced by Willem Dafoe, and we even have the likes of Mariska Hargitay and Cheech Marin. So, after the English dub came out, the United States would not actually get a physical release until 2011, and that's because of the fact that apparently the rights were currently being owned by the Sci-Fi Network, and they were doing a made-for-TV series, mini-series, I believe. And so because of the fact that the rights were tied up with Sci-Fi, that Studio Ghibli would have to wait till those rights were officially dropped, and they could finally go back to this movie and finally do a little bit more with it. This also was a very interesting landmark for Studio Ghibli because this was the first time that Goro Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki's son, would be in the director's chair, and this was his directorial debut in Studio Ghibli, as well as the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am wrong, I am sorry, but please put your comments in the box below to let me know what was the correct answer here. This is the first time that Studio Ghibli would not give us an original story. This was an adapted story from a novel series, and it is the story of a world where things seem to be out of balance due to an event dealing with dragons, and it causes weird things to happen in people as well as the environment around them. And it involves this boy who happens to be a prince named Aaron, who is taken under the wing of an archmage named Sparrowhawk because he believes that he can help bring balance back to the world, and through the meeting of a mysterious young girl, Teru, who has a very interesting past, as well as encountering the evil warlock Cobb and seeing what his intentions are, it's going to take everyone to truly unleash the power of their mind and their body and their spirit and their hearts to bring the balance back to the land. So, my experience with this film goes back to 2008. So, even though there was not a physical marketing copy, my friend did manage to have a bootleg copy, so that gave me the opportunity to see all of the Studio Ghibli films up until a certain point at the time. And I just remember not enjoying Tales from Earthsea at all. As a matter of fact, I fell asleep in the middle of it, and I think I did not even see a chunk of the movie, because when I was watching this movie, and it's not really long, it's a little under 2 hours, I definitely did not recall a lot of what I was actually watching when I finally sat myself down and rewatched this film to review for you. So I was wondering if my attitude would change, and the answer is a blunt nope. This is probably one of the worst films in the Studio Ghibli collection. I don't care for the story, I don't attach to the characters, I find the dialogue relatively mundane and boring, even though I adore actors like Willem Dafoe and Timothy Dalton. This is definitely not one of their better performances, although I definitely will say that it is one of Willem Dafoe's most unique performances because his dialogue and his voice of the character Cobb is very low and very deep and sort of creepy and menacing, so It definitely is interesting, but it's also very strange when you see what Cobb actually looks like. And that face and that voice do not mesh. I am sorry. But it's a shame because there's so much that really can be appreciated in this film. I think the animation is beautiful and the set pieces are very beautiful. Like, they're definitely very fantasy-oriented, very storybookish, and there could be a lot more to this, especially if you just look at it from a visual standpoint. But when the plot starts moving forward and the characters start talking, for me, it just did not work. And even the climactic battle, which definitely has some very surreal imagery. I will definitely say that there are segments of very surreal imagery throughout this film, but then again, there is surreal imagery in a lot of Studio Ghibli films, especially when you see movies like Pompoko and Spirited Away and Castle in the Sky. You're going to see that stuff. And you see that here in Tales from Earthsea as well. But I will definitely say that it's a pity that I feel this way about this movie just because of the milestones that are here, with Goro finally getting an opportunity to follow in his father's footsteps, because if there's one thing that I truly admire, it's when a family is able to pass on a trade from generation to generation, and the fact that Goro Miyazaki wanted to do what his father did is something that truly warms my heart. I just wish that it could have been a much better directorial debut. Maybe it's because of the fact that it wasn't an original story and that it was adapted, and maybe that's the reason why, but then again, thinking back to all the other Studio Ghibli films that I have seen, because I've seen them all, thinking about the other ones that are definitely based on previous works like Ponyo and The Secret World of Arrietty, which I will be reviewing at some point in time here, those stories in Studio Ghibli form worked for me. But I could be wrong when I revisit them. But I will just say right now, Tales from Earthsea, now that I've seen it a second time, I am a little upset, but completely comfortable with the fact that I stand where I stand. So this is not a movie that I'm really going to want to watch again. It's definitely not a movie that I'm going to own, because I don't own it. And I will still say that if you do want to be a completionist like me, you should see this movie and complete your viewing of Studio Ghibli films, as well as the other things that I talk about here on my channel. As a matter of fact, I'm very glad to say that I am actually revisiting the Disney Canon Classics again. I'm not going to be reviewing them here, because at this point in time, I'm pretty certain that nothing has changed in regards to my feelings towards some of the Canon Classics. But now I am watching these movies as a father who is watching his almost 2-year-old daughter now grow and say, what Disney classics are going to be some of the very first Disney movies that my daughter watches. So I am looking at all of these movies now, not just from a personal lens, but as a father's lens as well. And I think it's quite refreshing. And I love the fact that I can go back to all these movies and look at them through new eyes, so I can pick up on new things and discover new things about these films, even though some of these films have been viewed by me dozens and dozens of times, maybe even more than that. But Tales from Earthsea doesn't work for me. I will probably just give it a 2 stars out of 4 just because of the fact that the animation and the scenery is gorgeous, and the soundtrack is pretty great too. So that's it, everybody. Those are my thoughts on Tales from Earthsea. Please leave your comments in the box below and let me know your thoughts, and I am looking forward to seeing you in the next one. If you enjoyed the video you just watched, feel free to leave a comment. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to be up to date with our latest videos. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one. Actions speak louder than words.